So, we just got back from watching The Grudge 2020, and as usual, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. For her, she had never seen any of The Grudges, so she's going in this completely new. I've seen the first three. I've kind of watched stuff on YouTube about the Japanese, but we're going to still try to take this as a whole. We'll talk about a lot of things, so there will be spoilers. But we'll try to hold that off till towards the story aspect end. And also, first surprise, sort of, it's a reboot, not a remake. So, it's following some messed up timeline. I don't know if it's following the American Grudge or if it's following the Japanese, because all they really stated was that there was a lot of murders. You saw Kyoko, the boy and the father. You saw some other pictures, but I didn't quite see if like Sarah Michelle Gellar was in there or something. So hard to say. But yeah, it's a reboot. So even though it's The Grudge, no subtitles, it's technically the fourth movie or more from Japan. So I guess since the first thing you mentioned was the music, even for the opening of the title cards, I think we should first talk about the music and the atmosphere.
Sound effects?
Yeah, and sound effects. So I'll go ahead and, again, since you're the newcomer, I don't want to sit there and say stuff, and then you kind of, so I'll let you go first on each of these, so.
Okay, well, yeah, I was interested in the music when it first began. There was like, eerie sounds here and there and whatnot, and they kind of tried to get you to, the fear built up.
Tense.
Yeah,
that was the one thing I can't
anxiety.
say, is I was tense through most of it. Like, the movie itself, like you said, when the jump scares are coming and whatnot, but the one thing it did do was the tense. Like, when is it happening? Still didn't scare me. What's gonna look like?
Yeah. A lot of eerie sounds and
and thank you, Shaw Wolf, for joining the Roseplay movement. Or yes, show off. My bad.
But like, I mean, there was a lot of creepy, eerie sounds, and
hey, right back to you, show off.
Water sounds, and that, whatever they did with their throat.
Yeah, the croaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
like
even do it.
The croaking.
Thank you for the 4,000.
And like, I mean, there's like kind of watery sounds and chopping sounds.
Yeah, and this is where I'll jump in a little bit too with what's saying, again, it's based off the original Grudge. They didn't show Kyoko till, well, I mean, they showed her at the beginning, but you never really saw her again. And her son had sounds, breaking neck was hers. So the fact that they still incorporated the Grudge thing into them really kind of makes you think, hey, I guess that's just what dead people make sounds of.
And I felt like, I mean, the sounds were kind of, I want to say like they were almost perfect, but they were like just a hint off, like for the jump scares and whatnot. I feel like it was just a little bit off, but it could be because, they're timing it with what you're seeing. But even still, it kind of goes more with seeing in that aspect.
Yeah.
Because,
And that's part of the Grudge in general. It was this one at least, was a psychological / mystery.
Yeah.
So they tried to psychological you a lot. So I don't know if they were trying for jump scares. I mean, there's that one scene that actually did get you.
Yeah, I think there was one the whole time. But it was only because I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I was like looking at something, and then I looked up, and then poof.
Yeah, it was like the nurse, or not the nurse, the nun all over again.
It was like the little girl or something, I think is what it was, when I like looked down and I looked up.
Oh, that one. No, I was talking about the closet scene.
Which one?
Where Chow was hiding in the closet, and he opens it up and he's safe, and then she just pops right to the side. We knew it was coming.
Oh, when she popped to the side.
I forgot about that. There was the kid one. Yeah, what you were doing was, and a little bit spoiler into the story, like I said, we'll do more. So she's like, come here, son. And he gets up and like, did it flash? No, you might have been looking down at that point for a second.
Yeah.
It like flashed, kind of like, what movie was it? Annabelle. Like 1 second it's him, and the next you see the American new Toshi girl, like, running at her. Yeah, and she looked back up. I don't know what she was. She, like, looked down for a split second, looks up, next thing she knows,
Yeah,
not quite, but...
I was gonna say I don't overreact like that.
No,
or
you were
anything.
like...
It's funny to see some of those people because they just like scream.
Well,
Like
it
those
didn't
one
help that our
girls,
audience was 2 other people.
Yeah, I know. If it was a bigger crowd, you know.
It might have been like Paranormal Activity where
And you
everybody freaks.
don't see, I don't know, you don't really see men, jumping or screaming often in there.
Yeah.
But most of them, they come in there because, they enjoy horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that most, guys who would scream probably don't go to the theater because
Well,
they don't want to,
They take a chick
they
and
don't
want them to be scared and be like...
Yeah, they don't want to, look like, oh boy, I'm getting scared of
No,
this.
they're sitting there like, I'm pissing myself, but not gonna show it. There's what I came for.
It's just because they're, more conservative. They don't want everybody to know because they're supposed to be big and bad and not getting scared of anything. But, it happens.
It does. I mean...
you get people scared and it's not even, like... It's not even anything to be, freaking out about because it's the jumping is and screaming is just it's a reaction because
it's our fight or flight
Mm-hmm.
instinct.
Exactly.
And actually they tell you that
it's a
that
sound.
fear is good for you.
Mm-hmm.
That it gives some or something.
And see, it's a loud noise in the right in your face type of deal. So even that's not really being scared of it.
And like I said, the atmosphere was always tense.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing I can say is that the atmosphere was always tense. Wow, that was late for telling us our live stream started.
But yeah, like it's not really anything. It's not really anything to, but since there was, not very many people in there, you wouldn't really get.
Yeah. In some ways, you would have thought that would have made it a little bit more creepier.
Well, see, and that's what, I mean, you'd think the excitement would come from with being in the theater. You get to, see other people's reactions to it too, and whatnot. But there wasn't really anybody in there to be like, he's screaming over there or something.
They definitely kept the music low tone though. Like if there was music keys, it was always like very low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I thought the sound effects were almost on par or just about. So.
Yeah, for what you know about the Grudge.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
for the most part, going into that aspect, yeah, that's pretty much the Grudge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if they're ever trying to scare you, really. I'm guessing that's kind of part of their goal, but I think it's just the creep factor in general.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
kind of where the graphics and the CG come in next.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cool part about it is with that tense feeling of you always having when you see someone cutting their fingers off or a jaw missing.
Mm-hmm.
Or like at the end when you actually see, which we won't get to the little girl yet, at the end when you see what really happened to the little girl, that tense feeling is just like, oh.
It's just kind of like the climax going into the resolution of the whole thing. So and they tied it up really well, I think.
Yeah.
At the end there.
Yeah. So, I guess if we're grouping sound effects, music, and atmosphere, what would you rate that aspect?
I think I could give it a solid 8.5.
8.5? I'll go with an 8. The only thing that downsides it, and I think for me it was because I've seen the previous ones, is I kind of knew, but you did too.
Yeah.
But like you said, they tied well together.
Uh-huh.
I kind of saw it coming. I knew what was gonna, it was bits and pieces. Like, I was prepared. Like, I knew that when she checks the footage, they're not gonna be there.
Yeah.
So I guess let's talk about the special effects / graphics. Because, again, there isn't too much. Like, I remember back, before I let you start, I remember back in the original Grudge, you could see this hair on the side of the wall just coming out. And that was pretty neat for the time. But anyway, graphics and CG and all that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't say that there was much graphics to it. For the simple fact that a lot of it was just hair and fingers and stuff like that. But I definitely think they did a good job on what they did have. and in the jaw thing was
Oh,
pretty.
you mean the shooting jaw?
Yeah,
Okay.
the jaw thing was pretty well put together, I think.
He must have done more to his face, though, and we'll get into that with the story. But he must have done more to his face because there's no way that caused all this.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you did have not a complaint per se, but you did have that two moments with how did the woman's arm just snap off?
Yeah, I was like, how? I didn't see it. It went so fast that you didn't even understand how it even happened.
Yeah, and then the second one was when the woman committed suicide.
She fell off, and I thought the blood splatter was way off. I could be wrong on that because I don't know with the way that she fell.
And we don't know how far she
If that would
actually.
if that would actually happen.
It had to have been a ways though, because I felt like the time it took for her to drop, hit herself the first time, and then to fall to the rest of the ground, it had to have at least been like 6 floors
It
up.
wasn't necessarily like the shape of the blood splatter. It was kind of like how it happened. It was like, cause like you could kind of tell that it looked like somebody just like sprayed the paint on the ground when she fell and hit the ground. It just looked like, psh, and there's a blood splatter, and I didn't feel like that. It didn't look realistic to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I had a problem with that.
For me, most of the imagery, because of the people, I liked what I saw. The one that cringed me the most, and I knew it would from the beginning, was the finger cutting.
Yeah, that's probably the best graphic part in the whole thing.
I do think there might be one more, which is what I'll get to here in a moment. But
I definitely think that they tried to steer away from the more graphic part because they probably aren't, you know, they weren't focused on that. They wanted to intrigue you more with the story.
see, the original never did that. There wasn't that much violence, so I think they did add that in too
They
at the
added
same
some more,
time.
yeah.
Because audiences are getting more and more
Well,
used to this
They're
stuff.
trying to appeal to all tastes. You know, the people who like the gore and the people that like the psychological, and they're trying to put them all together. Is what I feel like.
See, the scene I think did the best, outside of the... And maybe the ending, because the way they ended it and how it got there, which we'll talk about kind of in the story, kind of was like, wow, that kind of really gets to me. But the one that really got to me, and crap, I had in my head and I forgot it for a second. Give me a moment. Ah, crap. Okay. Wow, of course I have issues remembering the best one now that I just had in my head. Oh, the baby. They did a don't show, which in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was, everybody was like, oh, it was one of the sickest movies ever. But they never showed anything. They left it to the imagination. And that's sort of what the scene with the baby did. Because they didn't really show, like you said, which thank God, didn't show opening up the pregnant woman, which again we'll get into. They didn't show opening up the pregnant woman, and they didn't really peer into the bedroom all the way, but they left it open, kind of hinting at the child's in there dead.
Yeah.
And then the guy kind of just flopped over into the water the rest of the way. I thought for me that was, besides maybe the ending, was better than the scene that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And just for the sole fact of, like you said, I hate it when pregnant women's involved. And the fact that it's pretty hinted at that he probably did gut her open.
Yeah.
And because they didn't show it, even though I'm glad they didn't, now it's even worse in my head of how he did it. So that's sticking with me the most.
Yeah, it's kind of the most messed up part of it all, yeah, but, I think the best graphics that they did the whole time has gotta either be, the face with the maggots or her in the car.
Oh, the car, yeah.
Because
the car was nice.
they really tried to,
So was the
play it
little
off.
girl when it was just a little nosebleed, and then when she's like, it's cleaned up, and he turns around, she's
Yeah,
like,
they really...
and you're sitting there trying to figure out, how did she die? Because like I said, because I've seen the other 3 Grudges,
Yeah.
I know that how they die is kind of how they...
And I was kind of right. I mean, she did get smacked on the
Yeah,
tub.
and we'll talk about that a little bit, too, but... Yeah, no, you were definitely right-ish for the most part. It wasn't quite exactly.
I didn't... I didn't even think
No, that was kind of mean.
the impact.
Yeah,
that
that was kind of mean
kinda,
the way it did actually come through.
I still think if she would have actually like hit her on the side,
yeah,
of the
like
it probably would.
and then cut.
It kind of would. It might have been worse that way. I'm not sure.
I think doing it in the water though, I think was worse because when she hits, she has no choice but to breathe in because it's an impact. You're like, and all the water's
yeah, that's
going.
true. And if she just did that, she could have knocked her out before.
Which would still drown her, but slower.
Yeah, so I guess it is kind of worse.
Which, by the way, even though it is kind of story related, but I'm still going with it here. The Grudge's MO still makes no sense. You can last anywhere from a few minutes up until years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does it decide? What does it decide?
Mm-hmm. And we didn't even get what happened to that dude in the asylum either.
I don't think he died unless he died from the blood. Which, by the way, the gouged out eyes are pretty cool graphically too, since that does kind of lead into there. Yeah, we don't know if he lived or died, and I have some ideas about what the ending kind of implies. But I think we're just about to the story actually, because there isn't much after the graphics and the whatnot.
Yeah.
So unless there's anything else you want to add about the so what would you rate it then?
Well, all in all, I think they did a really good job on the graphics. So, I'm gonna rate that probably a 9.
A 9?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 7. I mean, it's not that. It's nice that we saw it finally in The Grudge a bit more, the violence and whatnot, and it was still really good.
We'll see if we were rating on how much they threw in there, it'd be a different story.
Right.
But I rate when I rate, the stuff like that, I'm rating it for what it gave.
Right.
Even if it's one graphic scene, if that one graphic scene was really good, then it's gonna be a 9.
Well, see, that's where the 7's coming from for me. Is like I said, it's not so much the fact that they didn't do it in the previous ones. It's we've kind of seen this stuff before. I mean, it has been done in other horror movies and stuff like that, like somebody getting their belly cut open or a shoot jaw. I think happened in Saw. So I mean, we've seen it before, but with the tension and everything, that's why I'm giving it above average to a 7.
Yeah.
But either way, no, they did do really good on that spec. So now we'll start with the story, and this is definitely where spoiler territory comes in. So, the movie basically starts off at the Key... I don't think their name's Kyoko residence or Key. I don't even remember if that's her actual... But it starts at the residence that you know from the movies, whether it's the Japanese or the American ones. She brings the curse home, which pretty much has me thinking that because it's following one of the timelines, burning the house kind of caused evil mojo. She brings it home. She ends up murdering her family, and that's pretty much the big mystery of it all, is how did it go down?
Yeah.
We follow a female cop. She goes into the house foolishly, which, like I had told her, it's like, us as an audience, like, no, don't, you idiots. You're all idiots. But nobody knows there's a curse, or hardly nobody knows there's a curse. It does flash back and forth. The girl who comes home is 2004. The main story with the cop takes place in 2006. With another story, I think, in 2005 or two. There's like 2 or 3 stories.
Yeah.
So the cop goes in there. She starts seeing stuff. There's flashbacks to a realtor. There's flashbacks to the first family that moved in after them, which was old man and a woman,
and
it starts piecing everything together.
And that guy and his obsessed friend.
Oh yeah, the cop and his obsessed friend. Which I have a theory about the cop for the next one, if they do it. And so you see all kinds of weird stuff. The grudges continuously get more and more worse. Really, they didn't show too much of them seeing stuff, except for the cop. Because obviously she was the main focus. So you saw the husband of the wife who comes back, and there's this neat scene where she's watching the video because she thought she saw somebody, and she sees the husband, and then he's there, and then she tries. This cop guy's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And she's like, "He's here. He's dead. I got the proof."
Like they tried to pull it off. they tried to pull a lot of that off, you know, like they're actually there, and
Mhm.
so he was thinking, you know, they're actually there.
And like I said, the Grudge had done that before,
Mm.
variations of it.
So
And so her story kind of goes around that, and then the cop guy who had an obsessed cop friend,
mm-hmm.
and the other guy says, I refuse to go into the house because my partner said this and that. And I honestly believe he did look into it more as weirder stuff started
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll start with the realtors because that was the first story. And so basically, there's a wife. The kid gets tested inside, and they have ADS.
ADL is what I heard.
Okay,
But
ADL. So he goes into the house, which of course, now he's boned,
mm,
and so he. I think it's the mother starts popping up in one scene where she starts pulling the blankets
mm-hmm.
down and the alarm clock. But his comes to a head when he goes back to the house, finds the little girl.
Mm.
She has a nosebleed. Let's get you inside. Where's your parents? Which, here's a question. How long were they dead? How did the realtor not know they were dead?
Yeah.
Like, and I know in The Grudge it does some weird stuff too. Like, sometimes it'll hide the bodies upstairs in the attic.
Mm.
Sometimes the bodies disappear and you never see them again.
Yeah.
Like, this MO on this curse is so weird on how it does everything. But yeah, like it seems like as far as everyone knows, the family's still living there. There's no cops called. There's stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But so he goes into the house, gets a call from the wife, and as he's doing it, like we said, the little girl just starts vomiting and nose bleeding blood, and we can't quite figure it out, but she was wet, I'm pretty sure, most of the time. So starts hearing something upstairs. I think it was him that heard stuff upstairs originally, and it was the little girl in the tub. Oh right, someone tried to pull him in.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts freaking out. He tries to get out of there. The mother shows up, like does some banshee scream. And he hides in the closet, and I'm going, well, first of all, she saw you go in there.
Mm-hmm.
Good hiding spot. Second of all, I'm like, they're dead. They can just pop up wherever they feel.
Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder that when he was in the closet with her, if he got like possessed, because then he went home and he.
Right, and yep, that's what cause yeah, you see him that, and they don't really ever show his face after that, but I swear one glass is broke on his glasses, and there's a little blood. So I don't know if he's already dead and he's part of the curse.
Mm.
Because you did see that scene where he, like, the two window cells where he's got the scissors, and all of a sudden he just,
Yeah.
and then that's where I said the show, or tell, don't show, where you see the wife on the floor, and I mean, she's pretty flat on it, so I'm pretty sure, too, that's another hint, that he gutted her with the scissors, or cut her open, or something.
And it showed towards the crib, but not anything after that.
Because there was blood all over the floor around there, and they showed a little bit of the crib just peeking inside, like what's in there.
Yeah.
And then he's just kind of hanging.
So it was like a hint that the baby's probably, dead in there.
And it was probably dead because I'm sure it wasn't that far ahead.
Yeah, no. It's like, oh, please don't show that.
I guess we'll talk about the second story, which was the obsessed cop from the friend. So, I don't know. He went into the house. He started hearing voices. They didn't explain it too well. It's just, they showed the older couple, who is another story that we'll get into. But he's just watching them outside. So they call. He brings him. He ends up shooting himself, but I don't know why he didn't kill himself if a car was moving. But although they first showed was like a little cut or scar or something popping up. But then the main woman cop went to see him, and his face is like scarred.
All messed up, yeah.
And then he's like, oh, they're never going to stop. You went into the house. Like, he's crazy. And he basically explains the backstory.
Yeah.
He explains the backstory. And then he's like, maybe we should rip our eyes out so we can't see them. And next thing you hear is the alarms go off as she walks out. And he's tied down, screaming, I can still feel him watching me! And he's like, got no eyes, but we don't know what happened to him. The third story was the old woman, her husband who wanted her assisted living dead,
Hmm.
and the person was going to help with assisted suicide.
Yeah.
Which, earlier on, we found a car crash which had, like, this mummified corpse because the roads don't get used that much. And she's mummified, and she's...
Yeah.
So they explain that, which, this woman comes, says, I can do the assisted suicide, but she has to be competent, and she has to be okay with it or something.
Yeah, and then they said that she wasn't.
Yeah,
when she
she
technically
said she wasn't.
was, but...
Because she was seeing the dead little girl who was, like, friends with.
Yeah.
And, of course, you do see the dead husband in the cop storyline, so he's mummified in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, she was cutting off her fingers at that point. Or cutting them off more.
Which means she moved him then, because he was on the floor in the kitchen.
That's right! Which we'll get to that part. But you're right, he did. So she must have...
moved him.
Or the spirits moved him.
Something.
Yeah. But anyway, so, you know, she's all fine and dandy. She's, I'll stay for a couple of days, see how everything's going. She goes to the grocery store. The little girl's following her. There's blood on the ground. She squeezes her hand with blood start. I don't understand that part quite.
Yeah.
But, and then she starts seeing stuff herself. And she's like, oh, the old woman's not crazy. And the guy seemed like he was the batshit craziest of them all. He was like, I think that this place breaks the barriers down between the living and the dead, and we'll all be together. And she's just like, nope, not having any of that.
Here,
yeah, she had her bags getting packed, and she goes into the kitchen, and the old woman's like doing stuff, and she looks down, and she sees the husband dead with a knife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no. No, it was a fork.
It was a fork, right? Fork, and she's like, what did you do? And she's like, he was gonna kill me. I'm like, great, I'm glad that you could, you know, come back to your senses enough for that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So then she's driving off, and it was the husband in the back seat?
No, I think it's a little girl still.
It was a little girl still?
I think it's a little girl
It was
still.
one of those two, and she's driving down the road, which is what we're getting to, the mummified corpse, and whoever just like, "Urgh!" and she plows into the woods, and her arm just comes breaking off like nothing.
Yeah, something like that. But I thought it was somebody else in the back seat because I thought it was a manly person who did the scream or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I could have sworn it was the husband too, but
I thought it looked like a little girl in the back seat, but I'm not quite sure.
Either. And it's hard to say because, like I said, with Toshi in the original, he meowed like a cat.
Yeah, so. And there's so many people that's popping up.
Yeah,
that it
but
just
to be fair, none of the others really went outside. It was pretty much mostly the main original family. Yeah, it was just pretty much the main original family. It wasn't really any of the others unless you count the Asian guy who killed the wife afterwards, who we don't know if he was dead or whatnot, and I don't know what was up with the wife, but she just was going crazy to begin with. So basically their story ends with her being committed, and she, as we were talking about, goes up, I'm going to say 6 or 7 floors, because it did seem like it was still a long fall. It at least had to have been like 2 or 3 when she hit, and another 2 or 3 before she landed. So maybe that's why the blood splatter looks the way it does. I personally think that maybe she broke her neck and it's open, so when she lands, but that still doesn't explain the widespread.
Yeah, it was weird. It was almost like spray paint. Just
like someone just took a bucket of paint and was like...
Or almost like there was a bunch of like what was it? Paintballs. Like it was really weird.
Yeah, it just like
it was really weird to me when she fell like that and it spread out like that.
So that part got to me a little bit too, just because of the neck part. The rest of it I was fine with, but when you sit there and you see and then I'm like, oh, Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah.
And then of course the story ends with the cop woman. And she's like, I gotta take care of this. I don't want my son to die. And one of the running themes in the story... Okay, and by the way, we're getting into ending territory spoilers now. So if you don't want to hear it, go see the movie, come back. But anyway, she doesn't want to hurt her son for it to turn into whatever. So she's stupidly, though, brings him along. I was like, please don't bring him to the house. And she did. But there's that running theme about... what do we do when we're afraid?
Uh-huh.
We count to
And then
5.
he hesitated.
Yeah, and when she gets in there, she starts setting the place with gasoline, and this is when we finally learn what happened to the family.
Yeah, the resolution of it all.
Which was, I've got to show you, which kind of goes to what the original Grudge did too. It showed Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, how everything happened. So the wife just went batshit crazy, hit the husband or did something. He's like, how could you do this? So I assume she must have killed the little girl first.
Yeah, because he was on the stairs or whatever, and
he
she was like
yelling
hitting
at her
him
for
with
something.
something. Yeah, she was hitting him with something real hard. It sounded like a brick or something.
Maybe. All I know is that he was yelling about something, so I have to assume that she showed the husband first, but she actually killed the daughter first. But hits with something, I think rips the jaw, not completely off, but down enough. He falls down the stairs and is broken. But it doesn't really copy Kyoko or whatever, where because she's...
Yeah.
He's just kind of all buffly and manly when you see him. Because there's like a scene where she turns on and off the lights, like lights out. And after she leaves, the audience gets to continue to see him just standing there like...
Yeah.
But anyway, she goes into the house, she starts setting it on fire, which if you've seen the original, which is the comparison, you know that burning the place isn't going to solve it. But if you're new to the series, you're not going to know that unless you're smart enough to realize that, yes, the house, the place where the incident happened creates the grudge, but it does follow people, which means it can attach itself if the place of its residence is gone. But anyway, she gets ready to set the place on fire, and her son pops up. Of course, my first thought is, and this is why you weren't supposed to bring him. But at the same time, I'm like, I bet you it's not him.
Yeah.
And I was right. Because she's like, Mommy, I'm afraid. And she's like, what do we do? And like you said, hesitation, which I always thought that when they took the forms of stuff, they could go and read the person's mind. So that was a little weird that the kid wasn't able to figure that out. But he refused to answer it. So she's like, you're not real. Like, you could see her gears turning. So she's like, 1. When she gets to 5, she literally throws the flame at her son. And you're like, well, if that was her son, bravo!
Well, see, and see, like, what came to my mind when they had that scene was actually the scene in It, when he was seeing Georgie. Yep, and he was like, he was being manipulated, and stuff.
Except he knew everything was the difference. You really, in It, you really didn't know
if that was or not.
Yeah, did he keep Georgie alive, or did he actually kill him? In the original, you knew Georgie was dead. In the remake, you were like,
Yeah, it's like, that was crazy. But yeah, it reminded me of him, like, it was like, oh my gosh, if that was actually Georgie.
I know, how much worse would Bill have felt? Same thing with the mother. How would the mother have felt? Oh, God! Or if she would have kept the visage going, because there was a little girl pretending to be the boy, but what if she would have just continued, oh, God, Mommy! I mean, she's burning a spirit. Like, it's dead. You can't burn... I was waiting for it to, like, Terminator out of the fire at her. Like, what? You thought this was going to hurt me? Like, grab her and burn her alive. But unlike the Grudge movie, where they tried to burn the place down, the English one, and it got stopped, this place actually does get burned down. And the boy's outside, and I make the joke. I look to her, and I'm like, dude, get to the boy before he even reaches the sidewalk of the place. I don't even trust that.
Yeah.
So, basically, the ending, which is why I said this is one of the scenes where I think it definitely kind of was like the, oh, God. So she gets there, and she's like, honey, your bus is here. And she goes and gives him a hug. And it's a nice, sweet moment. It's like nothing bad's going to happen. All of a sudden, you see the son come by. Okay, Mom, I'm going. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, and that was kind of like what they did with the dog.
Yeah.
Because the dog was looking, and then
but
he
we
was all
never
the way
figured out
around,
who did that.
Yeah, so that's another thing that kind of...
Oh, crap. I forgot to even mention what happened to the daughter. So the daughter got drowned, but the mother was bashing her skull down in the tub.
Yeah.
Which explains the blood gush.
Yeah, it was impact.
Yeah. So that was... Ugh.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she's hugging... boy goes out. She's like, oh,
Hmm.
like the audience, oh shit. And next thing you see is the mother come up, pulls her by the hair, and she starts dragging her. Did she punch her once?
I don't know.
I could have sworn the ghost punched her once because she was fighting. Like she's pulling her, and she's like, and I feel like she was struggling.
It all happened so fast. I didn't even really see what happened. I just saw her come out of nowhere and just like
start pulling her off by the hair on the ground. I swear to God, as she's pulling her off, she's struggling, and the dead ghost mother, who shouldn't be doing something like that because that's not, Grudge like, just like pops her one in the face, and I'm just like,
I don't know if that happened. I don't remember that
she's
happening.
Right. It happened so fast because as soon as she starts pulling her off and maybe gets like 2 or 3 steps, it pans out to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Silence. Dead silence. And the credits just start rolling. You don't know if she killed them.
Uh-huh.
You don't know if she's possessing them, if she got away.
Like I said, I thought I saw something in the window.
And I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah, she thought she saw something. I couldn't tell. I mean, there was a scream, but it was to the start to the music. Yeah. So, no, you don't know. And she's like, oh God, does that mean the little boy's dead? I'm like, well, if it's like the American other Grudges, Sarah Michelle Gellar lived to the second one. The boy lived to the third one.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going to kill off the boy, you'd think, Grudge or not,
mm-hmm.
she's a cop. She had to have some training. You'd think being pulled, she'd be able to fight out. Maybe that's why I saw her punch her, which still makes no logical sense.
I can't even see what happened.
I would say from the time you see her hugging and realizing it to the pull to the outside of the house is like a 3 or 4 second transition.
Yeah, well, it was so quick. I didn't even know what the heck happened. I was just like, all of a sudden she appeared and started. All I remember was dragging.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I always hate it when movies end with a bad, because it always makes me feel bad. Like, now this movie, I don't, the rating has to be lower to me or something, and I'm gonna try to fight against that. But yeah, you don't know what happened. You don't know what is gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to make the money first.
Well, yeah, and I think the best part about the whole story is that it kept jumping from, different times and showing flashbacks. Mm-hmm. That's like the best type of
The original
movie.
Grudge did that a lot. The only difference is that you didn't know what year. Mm-hmm. When they jumped back in this one, it was 2004, 5, and 6. They told you.
And they're trying to go.
But there was like 8 or 9 different stories in the Grudge.
Mm-hmm.
So one second you'd be like, wait, didn't she get her jaw ripped off? And then later on she's.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more confusing. I do like that this one felt a little bit more cinematic. Than the other ones. So I mean, there's a difference there, but I don't know. I just think, and don't get me wrong, like we said, those other two, the baby being cut out, and what was the other scene?
I don't know.
I don't either at the moment, but those 2 scenes still got to us the most. But I just think, going from a hug, pulled off, and then just silence with the credits playing for, what, like a minute and a half, I swear?
Something like that. It wasn't too long.
It wasn't, but it was long enough to be like, this is an awkward silence and, like, creepy silence.
Yeah.
And again, that's the don't tell or don't show tell, though.
Mm-hmm.
That I think the ending's both boring but amazing at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, now that I've explained most of the story, I've left out some stuff, I'm sure, and I almost left off the little girl's death. But from a story standpoint, what were your thoughts on it, and what would you rate the story?
Well, I've always been a fan of the ones that, go back and forth, and they show the, them already dead. And then they go into what actually happened. You could be like, oh, that's, and you can start piecing them together. That's
Good
like the best
mysteries.
types of stories is when you can do that type of stuff. I think the story was pretty good for it was probably the best part of the whole thing. Psychological thriller.
Definitely out of it all.
So I think you pretty much covered, all of it.
I covered, I'm just
there.
your thoughts on the story and if the rating.
Put a few in there. I think the movie as a whole Like I think the story, since the story makes up most of it, it's gonna be real close to the actual rating
Right.
of the
It'll
entire
probably
thing.
be very close. I mean, I might throw a 0.5, but we'll see.
I would say it kept me intrigued just about the whole
Mhm.
time, so I'll say I'll give it a 9.
9. Awesome. And what did you think of the ending?
Um,
We'll say the ending goes from the time she starts burning down to the house to obviously the silence outside.
well, I really enjoyed the climax and the resolution of that whole house scene. But I'll say that the ending was just really fast and rushed, and I felt like they didn't, take their time enough on the ending. I
Either
think
that
that
or they
was
did that on purpose to
well, yeah, it's probably to set up for the next one, to be like
probably.
leave you hanging type of deal. But it just went so fast that I was just like, okay, like it's over. Um, I felt like it was kind of rushed at the end there, but it's probably out of the whole entire movie, that's probably my least favorite part was the ending.
Ending. And, I mean, first of all, I knew how the movie was going to end.
Hmm.
Or at least a variation of it. Like, burning down the house, I already knew.
Yeah.
I knew she wasn't going to get away scot-free. I wasn't sure how.
Yeah.
You were right that it was really, really rushed compared to the originals, it felt. So, like I said, it was both the most disappointing scene in the movie, but also one of the most awesome at a tense feeling type.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the ending with like just showing the house and that figure that I thought I saw in the window.
Which is nice because it's something somebody can talk about. I didn't see any
It
figure,
was.
but I did.
It was just. I mean, I've seen quite a bit of movies that just all of a sudden leave it off on some house or something like that, and I think it's to bring the intense emotion out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, now it's like surrounded in this house, type of deal. And I mean, that part I didn't see, anything wrong with. I thought they did a good job with that part. It was just a rush thing.
It was
at
the
the end there
eeriness at the end of just
It was just
silence.
the rush, whatever that was at the end when she was home
Yeah.
and the school bus, and I was just like, okay, like that happened.
mean, I like the aspect of trying to burn it down. I love that she threw the lighter at the ghost.
Yeah.
I like the kind of reveal that it isn't her son.
We'll see, and it's like, okay, you think this fire is gonna get rid of these spirits, but they were following you in the first place, and it said it never lets you go.
Yeah, and if you
and she
destroyed
wasn't
the
listening
house,
to it, never lets you go. It's
but
been
see,
following
unlike Japan though, they all know what the grudge is. Americans don't, so I don't think they knew
you. No,
what
it
it actually did. She just
but,
thought,
but she didn't
you're right. They
listen
didn't think
to
it was following
never
you.
let you go. It's following you. Like, it's not gonna let you go. Like, if it follows you home, what makes you think getting rid of the house would?
See, what I think the ending implies is that she did stop the grudge there.
Yeah.
But since it was still attached to her because it never lets them go, I think what happens is she's getting possessed.
Yeah.
Her son's coming home, and it's gonna become the new area, and that's where I think the cop is going to get involved. Because I think what's going to happen, he refused to step foot in that house because of his partner.
Yeah, it's like a lure.
It's a lure because now he's probably going to go into this one because he's not going to suspect anything.
Yep.
And then he's going to get taken by it.
Which you'd think he would, being she was,
If you think he was smart, he'd be like, well, the guy said it follows. Screw that. I'm not going to that house either.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think he will.
Yeah, just because it's her.
Yeah, I think the next story is going to follow what happened to her and the boy, which is probably going to be murder. And then it's going to probably be the cop be the main character if there is a sequel.
Yeah.
And it's going to follow the events of that. And maybe we'll see if the other cop
Yeah, because
died
she
or not.
probably did. She probably got possessed or something and killed her son is what from I have to.
What I think they should do is that they should go to Japan. The main cop, he should go to Japan and figure this out.
Research.
And research, see if there is a way to stop it. Because in The Grudge 2, you found out that Kyoko's mother was an exorcist.
Oh.
And what she would do is she'd take the evil blood from the possessed person and make her daughter eat it. Which, okay, that's not a great way to make your child evil, especially when she dies.
Yeah.
And the third one had her sister involved, who also does die. But they have the sister involved, and they say the only way to get rid of my evil sister is by somebody absorbing her by drinking the blood.
Huh.
which she does, and then, I don't know, it gets weird, because in the Japanese movies, she does end up doing the same thing. Somebody gets pregnant, has Kyoko again, raises him for 5 years, and then the daughter pushes him down the stairs. Which, again, the MO makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think if they do a sequel, that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
But I think that's what is happening, is she's... Because I think that's what happened with the beginning, too, is that they started a curse at home the first time. Now that there isn't a place of it, she's going to get possessed, and the son's going to get killed. But all in all, like I said, I've seen the original, so I kind of saw some of it coming. You know, there was different variation twists.
Yeah.
So I'm of course, going to think a little bit lower. But, like I said, I like the cinematic feel of this one. It felt less short stories that are all linking together and more one big main story where there's sometimes flashbacks.
Yeah.
So I did like that more. So as story-wise, I do agree with you. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5 to a 9. So I'm going to say an 8.75.
Okay.
So that's the story. So now all that's left is the actual rating for the movie, everything together.
All right.
So...
Well, like I said, it's going to be mostly because of the story, because, I mean, it's a psychological thriller, and going, you know, I liked how it jumped around everywhere. But I am always one for the special effects and the sound, too, and...
Oh, they did do good on that.
And I think, yeah, it was close to perfect for the timing, but I think it was just, like, maybe even a millisecond off for, like, the jumps, but, like, because it waits... They wait until you get, like, all this tension built up to the point where you know it's coming. And it's like, I don't understand why movies do that. Why don't they just build up just a little bit and then boom, there it is. Why they wait so long to where you're expecting it is beyond me. But I think it was still close to perfect in that regards. So I think all in all, it kept me captivated in its storytelling and the graphics combined. So I think that I want to say that I'll give it a 9, but for just very, very small things, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
An 8.5? Okay, and of course, I gotta look at this at two standpoints. Of a newcomer coming in, and then people who have seen it. And first of all, this is a January movie, so I already went in there with low hopes, and whenever I go into a movie with low hopes, usually it at least does well enough to go over a 5, because I'm already thinking in my head, this is a 4, this is a 3, before I go see it.
Yeah, well, see, I don't have that mindset. I'm always like... See, because as long as the story's intriguing enough for me, I usually do, and I'm not very I don't take things too harsh on movies.
Well, and as a newcomer and an old person who have seen the movies, I mean, it's still intriguing enough because you're wondering, you know, how does this link to the originals? What's going on? Yeah. So as a person who saw the 3, if you've seen any of the Grudges, seen the Japanese Grudges, it's nothing really new.
Yeah.
I mean, the story is captivating, but I mean, there were others before it that tried the same. You know, the best part of the Grudges were probably the noises, the special effects, and how people died and the mystery of it.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who's seen these and are going into it, probably don't expect much. Go in just to have fun. Yeah. It'll be good. Otherwise, if you're going in there expecting something great and amazing, probably won't. I'm gonna, as that type of person, I'm gonna give it a 6. Just a little passable, because like I said, I liked the cinematic more feel than the short stories all kind of coming together like the Grudge usually does. And I am more of a cinematic fan.
Well, see, and this is the first time that I'm hearing of such a story in the first place.
Which gives higher hope.
And so even if, like, since we have all this technology nowadays... I'm gonna probably, like, watch this one and watch the other ones and be like, this one was the best out of them because it's got the most, you know,
and it's a reboot, so it is part of the
and
some
special
series.
Effects, yeah, so.
Now, as a newcomer, it gets very hard because some people really like anything, some people don't. It's hard to gauge it. I mean, like I've said, you've seen this all before in other movies, probably. There's nothing really new either. I mean, if you were going in for, like, the horror experience of the decade,
Mm.
which since we just started, I guess, isn't saying much.
Yeah.
But if you're going in for something and expecting a lot out of it, you're going to come out of it with very low expectations.
Mm.
If you go into it and you're a horror enthusiast, you just enjoy the movies as they are,
Mm.
and it's something you've never, seen from the series.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it can range either one of two ways. Either you're going to give it like a 3 to a 4,
Mm.
but if you're that person that goes into horror movies just to enjoy the horror movies like she does, I'm going to agree close to her because you gave it an 8.5?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 7.5. Because like I said, I do still know the past of it, but I did like some things better than the old one.
Mm.
And I'm kind of torn because the ending, not happy, which I knew wasn't going to happen. But it's continuing something that's been going on for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least it's a new entry. Maybe they can do more with it. If this movie does really well, which, honestly, I'm going to say it's probably not, because I'm already hearing poor things.
Or 16% with Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
Yeah, let me see. So we have a 4.1 out of 10, so that is under average. 16% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 2 out of 5.
I remember the 16.
Yep, for the common sense. And 47% of people like the movie, just for Google users. So it is really low. So unless it really does good as it continues, or it becomes like a cult favorite after it comes out, I don't see there being a sequel.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they did do a sequel, now that they've set up the new Grudge, the new history, I think that they could really make the second one really good, really different, and put a lot more budget into it.
Yeah.
That's got to be the route they got to go if they're able to do a sequel. If they don't one-up themselves, the movie's gonna fail. If not this time, then the next time. But, I mean, as you can see, a lot of the ratings are really low. I mean, we're usually pretty good at liking a lot of things. I mean, we liked Slender Man enough.
As long as they showed him.
Yeah, our only main
care.
concern was, you better show us Slender Man for at least 10 minutes, or we're not going to be happy.
Oh, 10 seconds would have been just fine. I didn't really care. I just wanted to see him in action.
Which, I mean, really that movie was kind of bad.
It was kind of really bad.
It was kind of really bad. I mean, I kind of liked the story, but I kind of didn't. The ending was really whacked. Like, if you want to know that opinion, I would have given it, like, between a 4 and a 6.
Yeah, I don't know what I gave. I probably gave it kind of high, but only because of Slender Man.
Probably did, because you got what you wanted. And so did I.
just wanted Slender Man.
If they wouldn't have shown Slender Man, I would have given it, like,
they
a
did
1
wait,
or 2.
They waited quite a while,
They
too,
did.
though, but...
And they did get rid of the eye stabbing scene, which would have made a difference. It would have probably given it a 0.5 to a
lot
point higher.
more.
But this isn't Slender Man.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this goes to show how our, things of how we rate stuff. So I think the movie, in closing statement, and I'll give her hers in a second, I think the movie was okay. It was better than the ones that came out for us. Maybe not so much for the ones that came out in Japan.
Yeah.
It was a fun ride because I wasn't expecting much, and I realized that it was just another interpretation of the movie. So again, if you're going to see it, don't, expect too much. Just sit back, enjoy. You might have fun where it's passable. Otherwise, you're probably going to agree with the rest of the groups and give it really low ratings. So my final verdict is, if you got the free money, you have time to waste, go see it. Otherwise, wait to rent it or get it on DVD.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that special to see in the theater for more money than renting it.
Yeah.
So your final thoughts.
I would say if you're an open-minded individual and aren't there just for, these pop-outs and, gore like most people are.
That didn't do, the pop-outs, no.
If you're there for, like, an intriguing story that goes back and forth into all these different stories.
There was a mystery in it.
Yeah, and especially as a newcomer to it, I would say definitely, give this one a shot. But I can't really speak for somebody who's already watched the series because I haven't watched the series.
Which honestly, it was nice
But
having somebody go into it knowing it and somebody not.
yeah,
It's a nice.
well, yeah, it's a nice blend like that. But
Mhm.
it's like, I mean, I'm a person who can watch the same idea in many different, ways and still be intrigued by the same thing, because I'm just like that. I like a good story.
Yeah, and that's video games for me.
Exactly. It could be the same story as long as it keeps you intrigued in what's going on. Then, but yeah, I'd say an open-minded individual for sure. But if you're like a hardcore horror fan and you pick out every single part that's oh nope 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 nope,
Most of the people.
then no, then no, don't put your time into it.
In that case, I guess her thing is, if it's on one of your stations for free, watch it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else on. So that's The Grudge. I don't know what movie we're going to see next, but when we do, we'll be back with another review of it. Of it. Speaking of, I still like Doctor Sleep. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Alright. We're getting other movies in here. So that's it for this movie review. We'll be back with that and anything else we come across. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Let us... For Mixer, obviously, you can't tell us what you thought about it because we won't be able to... This will last 14 days. You people on YouTube, let us know in the comments. What did you think about it? What did you like? What did you hate? We can debate. I mean, maybe there's one scene you thought was good that we didn't. We can always talk about it, but in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time for whatever movie review.